In today's video, we will look at some of the strangest temporary stadiums for college football. Some of them being used for a team to play for a season or two in, and others being used for a single game. I'm going to try not to count stadiums that host an annual bowl game though, because that's kind of a different topic. So let's get into it. First up is the most recent and obvious ones. Northwestern University football played at Martin Stadium temporarily from 2024 to 2025. This is one of the more interesting stadiums in Division I college football and was primarily used for soccer and lacrosse before football. The Wildcats had played football at Ryan Field for many years, from 1926 to 2023. However, the stadium became very old, and in 2021 the Ryan family donated $480 million for a new stadium. The new stadium would be in the same site, so they demolished the old Ryan Stadium. In the 2 seasons it would take for them to build a new stadium, they decided to play at Martin Stadium. This is located right next to the water and much closer to the main part of the Northwestern campus. The stadium opened in 1997 and has been the home of soccer and lacrosse ever since. It was renovated in 2016, but the capacity was still just 2,000, which is way too small for a Big Ten football team. So prior to the 2024 season, another renovation was done, raising the capacity to 12,000. Large bleachers were added at each end of the field, and more temporary seats were put in along the sidelines. Even with all this though, it is still by far the lowest capacity of a stadium in the Big Ten, and second lowest in all Division I FBS football. The stadium has a very unique look to it, mainly with how small it is and with it being so close to the water. But it also looks very temporary. Personally, I think it has great views with its location, and it's pretty weird to see a team like Oregon come in and play in front of 12,000 fans. As for the new Ryan Stadium, it will open in the fall of 2026 and is said to have a capacity of 35,000. It looks like it will be pretty nice with the canopy design that you don't see much in college football. The Hawaii Rainbow Warriors football team currently plays at Clarence Ching Athletic Complex. They've played there since 2021, but it's not supposed to be a permanent home. Hawaii had played at Aloha Stadium since it opened in 1975. The NFL Pro Bowl was also there for many years. However, by the late 2010s, the stadium was old, outdated, and in need of repairs. It was becoming a safety concern, and so the Rainbow Warriors moved out. The Clarence Ching Sports Complex had been the home of track and field, women's soccer, and beach volleyball. The capacity was just 4,100 though. However, it was raised to 9,000 for the first couple of years for football, and in 2023 raised again to 15,000, which is still pretty low compared to Aloha Stadium, which had a capacity of 50,000. This stadium is kind of similar to Northwestern in that it has obviously temporary bleachers and also has some great views, but I would say it doesn't look quite as temporary overall as Northwestern's. It's one of the few current FBS stadiums with a running track around it, although they put bleachers in front of the track on the ends. Originally, Hawaii was just supposed to play here until 2024. The plan was to build a new Aloha Stadium to replace the old one. However, things have been moving very slowly there. The old Aloha Stadium is supposed to be demolished in 2026, and a new stadium is supposed to be completed by 2029. So this temporary stadium may last for almost 10 years, and we will see if they add more seats or make any more renovations. In 2011, the California Golden Bears played football in Oracle Park, which was then called AT&T Park in San Francisco. Cal currently plays football at Cal Memorial Stadium, which opened in 1923 and has been the home of Cal football ever since, except for in 2011. At that point, Cal Stadium was already very old and in need of some work. The Hayward Fault passes under the playing field of the stadium. This was causing some of the walls of the stadium to separate. Instead of building a new stadium, they decided to renovate because the stadium is on the National Register of Historic Places. The Cal campus is pretty close to San Francisco, so the football team moved their home games across the bay to Oracle Park. Oracle Park opened in 2000 and has been the home of the San Francisco Giants Major League Baseball team ever since. It's known as one of the nicest ballparks because of its great location, views, and overall experience. However, it was just built for baseball and was not meant to be a multi-purpose facility. It did have some experience hosting football though. An XFL team played there in 2001, and there was a college football bowl game there from 2002 to 2013. For football, they chose to run the field from the first base side down to the left field area. A large section of seats was brought in front of the right field fence to go along the sideline. Overall, it worked out pretty well. However, it did look kind of strange. There are some places like the corner next to the bleachers where the seats look pretty weird. And also not to mention the baseball infield right on the playing field when it was also baseball season. However, the stadium did have a great view of the water and surrounding area. In 2016, the University of Tennessee Volunteers played against the Virginia Tech Hokies at Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee. This game was just a one-time thing, and if you look at a map, Bristol is about halfway between the two schools. Bristol Motor Speedway is a race car track used for NASCAR and other racing series, and the track itself is a short track in racing at only about a half-mile long. It opened in 1961, and the track shape is an oval with high banking. There's bowl-style seats going all the way around the track, and it has a very large capacity of 146,000. The thought occurred to people that you could fit a football field in the infield of the NASCAR track. Then it would be a massive football stadium. On September 2, 1961, after the track opened, there was actually an NFL exhibition game played there. It was between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins, but the attendance for that game was just 8,500, and as you can see, they didn't have nearly as many seats back then. Years later, they decided to play there again for football in 2016, with the main purpose of this game being to try to set the all-time attendance record. And on September 10, 2016, the game was played, and the attendance was 156,990, which did in fact set the record for attendance. As you can see, the field easily fits within the racetrack. There's almost too much space. Some temporary seats were added closer to the field on the actual racetrack itself. Then you can see just how packed the seats are going all the way around. In the end, Tennessee ended up beating Virginia Tech 45-24. In 2025, there was also a Major League Baseball game at Bristol as well. We talked about Northwestern earlier playing in a temporary stadium. During this time, they play a few games at Wrigley Field. They had played at Wrigley Field a few times prior, in 2010 and in 2021 as well. After the Wildcats moved out of Ryan Field in 2023, they've played a couple of home games a year at Wrigley. These games are scheduled after the Cubs baseball season is over, so there's no potential conflict. But Wrigley Field offers a much larger seating capacity than Northwestern's temporary stadium of 12,000. Wrigley Field has a capacity of over 41,000. But the field is very strange for football. Wrigley Field is already a pretty unique stadium because of how old it is, with it opening in 1914. The football field barely fits, with one end zone going right up to the wall. Receivers must be careful running routes into the end zone here. The field runs from around third base to the right field seats area. Another strange thing is that along one sideline, there's nothing but grass for a long ways. The overall look of the way the field fits and everything just looks really strange. I think it might be the weirdest baseball field converted to football that I've seen for college. But Wrigley Field actually has a long history of football being played there. The Bears played there for many years from 1920 to the 1970s, as well as several other teams. That's all for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.